The sky above the wide valley turned bright blue as the sun rose over the tall green hills. The air smelled of wet grass and pine trees. A quiet wind moved through the leaves of the old oak trees that stood like giants near the river. The Iron River clan lived in this place for many generations. Their homes were longhouses made from wood and animal hides. Smoke rose from small fires in front of each house. Women cooked meat and roots, while children ran between the houses laughing and playing. Men sharpened tools and checked their hunting bows. The day started like any other day, until the strange sound came from high above. A low hum grew louder and louder until it filled the whole sky. People stopped what they were doing and looked up. A silver shape broke through the clouds. It moved fast and smooth, without flapping wings or burning fire like the old stories told. The shape grew bigger until it looked like a giant metal bird without feathers. It hovered over the valley then, slowly, came down toward a flat field near the riverbank. Dust and dry grass flew up as it touched the ground. The hum became softer, then stopped completely. A door opened on the side of the silver shape, and figures stepped out. The strangers looked tall and thin. Their bodies shone like hard shells under the sunlight. They moved on 6 legs and carried long sticks that glowed with faint blue light. Their heads had large black eyes and sharp mouthparts that clicked when they talked. One of them, the leader, lifted a small box to his face and spoke in a voice that sounded like dry leaves rubbing together. The words came out strange and sharp, but then a machine voice repeated them in the language of the clans. Submit to the Krell Dominion, or face removal. The clans must give tribute in flesh and stone, or be ended. Kalith stood at the edge of the village. She was the chieftain of the Iron River clan. Her hair was black and tied back with leather. Her face carried many scars from old fights and hunts. She wore a tunic made from deer hide and carried a long spear with a sharp stone tip tied tight with sinew. She watched the strangers without moving. Her face showed nothing but calm. Her eyes followed every move the strangers made. She saw how they pointed their glowing sticks at the trees and rocks as if testing them. She noticed the small flying machines that came out of the silver shape and buzzed around like angry bees. They flew low over the village, taking pictures with red eyes that flashed. Kalith turned to her brother Torin, who stood beside her. He was taller than most men in the clan, and carried a heavy club made from oak, with sharp pieces of flint stuck in the head. Torin whispered low, so only she could hear. They come back after all these years, just like grandfather said. Kalith nodded once. She remembered the stories her grandfather told when she was small. He spoke of lights in the sky and villages burned to ash. He spoke of people taken away, never seen again. Spoke of strange voices demanding tribute. The strangers left that time, but promised to return when the clans grew stronger. Now they kept that promise. More people gathered behind Kalith. Old women held babies close. Young hunters gripped their bows tight. Children peeked from behind legs, watching with wide eyes. No one spoke loud. No one ran. No one cried. The clan waited and watched. A runner came from the hill path breathing hard. He knelt before Kalith and spoke fast. The other clans know Black Fang and Stormbreaker send word. They gather at the Grandmother Oak tonight. Kalith placed her hand on the runner's shoulder. Good. Go back and tell them we meet at dark. Bring every hunter and every elder. The strangers did not notice the runner slip away into the trees. They walked in a line across the field, marking spots with small glowing posts that stuck in the ground. Each post sent out a beep and a flash of light. The leader, Sub-Overseer Vexthar, clicked his mouthparts and spoke to his soldiers again. Simple world, low tools, easy harvest. Prepare the claim beacons for full landing tomorrow. We take the strong ones first. The soldiers moved fast, setting more posts in straight lines. They did not look at the village. They did not see the eyes watching from the shadows of the trees. Caliph walked back to her long house. She called the hunters to gather inside. The room filled quickly with strong men and women. Each carried weapons, spears, bows, knives, clubs, and slings. They sat in a circle around the fire pit. Caliph spoke clear and slow. The strangers think we are weak. They think we have no plan. They think we will kneel like scared deer. We will not kneel. We will hunt. We will use the land we know. We will use every trick our fathers taught us. The hunters nodded. Some smiled small, hard smiles. Others gripped their weapons tighter. Torin spoke next. They have glowing weapons and flying machines. We have the forest, the river, the hills. We know where to hide. Strike. We know how to wait. They do not. We start tonight. We watch their camp. We learn their ways. We prepare our own ways. A young hunter named Lyra stood up. She was fast and quiet with keen eyes. She spoke. We can poison the water near their posts. We can set snares in the dark paths. We can burn their machines with fire from pitch and dry wood. The others murmured agreement. Caliph raised her hand. Enough talk. Now we work. The hunters left the longhouse and spread out through the village. Some went to the river to gather strong vines. Others went into the forest to collect roots that burned the skin and stopped breath. Some climbed high trees to watch the strangers' camp from above. Children helped carry bundles of arrows and flint. Old women sharpened blades with smooth stones. The sound of stone on stone filled the air like steady rain. The clan moved as one body. Each person knew their task. No one needed orders shouted loud. Everyone understood what must be done. Night came slow and dark. The stars appeared one by one. The strangers' camp glowed with blue lights that looked cold and strange. The flying machine still buzzed overhead, searching for movement. The Krell soldiers stood in tight groups, talking in their clicking language. They felt safe. They felt strong. They did not know the forest around them had eyes and ears and shark teeth waiting. In the village under the grandmother oak, the clans gathered. The fire burned low so the light would not show far. Caliph stood on a large flat rock. She looked at the faces around her. Iron River, Black Fang, Stormbreaker, Red Hand, and more. All the old allies stood together tonight. She spoke again. The strangers want our world. They want our bodies. They want our future. We give them death instead. We give them fear. We give them reason to never return. We start small. We strike fast. We disappear. We make them chase shadows until they break. Tonight we sharpen. Tonight we plan. Tomorrow we hunt. The clans raised their weapons high. Bows, clubs, knives, all lifted together. No shout came. Only silence, thick and heavy. The fire popped and sent sparks into the dark sky. The night wind carried the smell of smoke and sharp stone. The clans turned to their tasks. They worked through the dark hours, shaping wood, binding sinew, mixing poison, testing balance. The sound of work never stopped. The valley stayed quiet, except for that steady rhythm of preparation. Far away in the silver camp, Sub-Overseer Vexthar looked at the dark hills. He clicked his mouthparts once more. Primitives, he said to his second. They will fall easy. The second answered, Yes, Sub-Overseer, easy harvest. Vexthar turned back to his glowing maps. He did not see the shadows moving closer along the ridgeline. He did not hear the soft scrape of stone against stone. He did not feel the weight of eyes that watched without blinking. The Iron River clan and their allies prepared their weapons. They prepared with care. They prepared with patience. Circling a wounded beast, they knew the hunt had begun. The moon hung low and silver over the grandmother oak that night. The great tree stood alone on a wide hill. Its thick branches spread like arms, reaching for the stars. The clans came from every direction. They moved quiet through the dark paths. Hunters carried torches wrapped in wet moss, so the light stayed small and hidden. Women walked with baskets full of supplies. Children followed close, carrying small bundles of arrows and flint. Old men leaned on sturdy sticks, but their eyes stayed sharp and awake. The air felt cool and thick, with the smell of pine smoke and fresh earth. Caliph reached the meeting place first. She stood under the lowest branch of the grandmother oak. Her spear rested against her shoulder. The fire in the center burned low, just enough to warm hands and show faces. She watched the others arrive. Black Fang clan came from the north. Their hunters wore black paint across their cheeks and carried long curved knives made from volcanic glass. Clan marched from the east. They brought heavy packs full of pitch and tallow wrapped in animal skins. Red Hand clan arrived last from the south. Their leader, a tall woman named Mara, carried a staff topped with red feathers, and her people wore strips of dyed cloth tied around their arms. Other smaller clans joined too. Each group knew the old paths and came without noise. When everyone gathered, Caliph stepped onto a flat stone near the fire. She looked at the circle of faces lit by the soft orange glow. She spoke in a clear voice that carried far enough for all to hear. The Sky People have returned. They landed in the wide field by the river. They speak of harvest and tribute. They think we are small and weak. They think we will give our strong ones and our land without a fight. We will not give anything. We will take everything they bring. The clans listened without a sound. Only the crackle of the fire broke the quiet. Mara from Red Hand stepped forward. She held up a small clay pot, sealed with beeswax. This is the new poison we made from nightshade berries and viper fangs, mixed with river clay. It burns through skin and stops breath in moments. We can dip arrow tips and spear points in it. The Black Fang leader, a man named Ruck, nodded and spoke next. Our scouts watched their camp. They set glowing posts in lines around their silver ship. The posts hum and flash. They think the lights keep us away. We can use the dark to move close. We can cut the posts one by one and watch what happens. A young hunter from Stormbreaker named Vorn spoke up. He was known for his skill with fire. He held a small bundle of dry reeds soaked in pitch. We can make fire arrows that burn hot and fast. We can wrap them around stones and shoot them at their machines. The fuel they use might catch and spread. The clans murmured low. Some smiled. Others tested the weight of their weapons in their hands. Caliph raised one hand and the voices stopped. She spoke again. We do not fight them in the open field. That is what they want. We use the land. The forest hides us. The river carries our scent away. The hills give us high ground. We strike fast. We strike from shadows. We strike and vanish before they can aim their glowing sticks. The elders sat in a smaller circle behind the main group. They listened and nodded. An old woman named Sira from Iron River stood slowly. She had white hair and many scars on her arms. She spoke in a voice rough from years of smoke and commands. Our grandfathers fought the Sky People once. They burned villages and took our kin. The strangers left because they thought the fight too hard. Now they return because they think we forgot. We did not forget. We grew stronger. We learned the forest better. We learned to make better weapons. We learned to wait longer. We will teach them fear again. The elders raised their hands in agreement. The younger ones felt the weight of those words. Caliph turned to the tasks. She pointed to groups one by one. Black Fang, you make more poison. Dip every arrow and every dart you have. Use gloves of thick hide so the poison does not touch your skin. Stormbreaker, you prepare the fire bundles. Mix the pitch with dry moss and resin. Make them light and easy to carry. Tie them tight so they do not fall apart in flight. Red Hand, you sharpen the obsidian blades. Make them thin enough to split a hair. Test each one on your arm hair before you finish. Iron River, we will make the plan. We will scout their camp tonight. We will mark every path they use. We will find their weak spots. We will watch how they sleep and how they guard. The clans split into work groups right away. Hunters sat around small fires and started their tasks. The sound of stone scraping against stone filled the hill. Stone on flint made sharp edges. Stone on bone made smooth points. Women boiled roots in clay pots to make thick glue for binding arrowheads. Children carried armloads of straight branches to the arrow makers. Old men tested bowstrings by pulling them tight. Listening to the hum. Everyone worked with steady hands. No one rushed. No one complained. The night air carried the smells of hot pitch, sharp sap, and warm glue. Torin Kalith's brother walked among the groups. He checked the work. He spoke low to each leader. He made sure the poison pots stayed covered. He made sure the fire bundles stayed away from open flames. He stopped at a group of young hunters who practiced throwing weighted ropes. They spun the ropes over their heads and let them fly toward a tree trunk. The ropes wrapped tight and held. Torin nodded. Good. Those will tangle their flying machines. Bring more rope and more weights. We need many. Lyra, the fast scout from Iron River, came back from the river path. She carried fresh mud on her arms and legs. She knelt before Kalith and spoke quiet. Their camp has 3 big platforms that float. They load soldiers on them and move toward the village. They have long glowing weapons that make air crackle. They set small machines to watch them, sky and the ground. We can use smoke to blind those machines. We can use the river mist to hide our approach. Kalith placed her hand on Lyra's shoulder. You will lead the first watchers tonight. Take 3 hunters. Stay hidden. Bring back every detail you see. As the night grew deeper, the work continued. The clans sang low songs while they worked. The songs told of old hunts and old battles. The words stayed soft, so no sound carried far to the strangers' camp. The grandmother oak stood silent above them. Its leaves rustled in the breeze, as if listening. The fire burned lower, until only red coals glowed. The clans finished their tasks and packed their supplies. They checked each weapon one last time. Spears felt balanced, bows drew smooth, arrows flew true in short tests. Clubs felt heavy and sure in the hand. Kalith stood once more on the flat stone. She looked at the tired but ready faces. She spoke final words before the groups left. We rest little tonight. We move before first light. We watch. Wait. We prepare more. We strike when they think us weak. We are not weak. We are the clans. We are the land. We are the hunt. They will learn this soon. The clans raised their weapons again. No loud cry came. Only the quiet lift of spears and bows against the dark sky. The group slipped away into the night paths. They moved like shadows between the trees. The hill grew quiet again, except for the soft wind and the distant hoot of an owl. Far below in the valley, the strangers' camp glowed with cold blue light. The Krell soldiers stood in their tight lines. They felt safe behind their machines. They talked in cliques and waited for morning. They did not know the forest around them filled with eyes and hands and sharp stone. They did not know the clans worked through the dark. They did not know the preparation had only begun. The clans returned to their villages and hidden camps. They kept working in small groups. Some sharpened more blades. Some fletched more arrows. The night passed slow and steady. The stars wheeled overhead. The clans prepared without stop. They prepared for the fight they knew would come. They prepared like people who had lost before, and vowed never to lose again. Dawn came slow and gray over the valley. Mist rose thick from the river and hung low between the trees. The strangers' camp still glowed with blue lights. The silver ship sat quiet on the flat field. Small machines floated above it, watching the sky and the ground. Sub-Overseer Vexthar stood outside his command tent. His black eyes scanned the dark tree line. He clicked his mouthparts and gave the order. 3 hover platforms will move now. Take soldiers to the nearest village. Show them our power. Burn one house if they hide. Make them come out and kneel. The Krell soldiers climbed onto the platforms. Each one carried a long phase disruptor that hummed with stored energy. The platforms lifted smooth and silent. They glided forward, toward the path that led to the village. Platforms, come closer. Lyra, the fast scout, whispered low. They follow the old game trail just like we thought. Kalith nodded once. She lifted her hand high, then dropped it fast. The signal went down the line. Arrows flew from both sides of the ravine. They came in steady waves, not wild shots. The first volley carried tips dipped in the new poison from Nightshade and Viper. The arrows struck the soldier's armor. The poison hissed as it touched the seals. Small cracks appeared in the hard shells. The Krell soldiers jerked and clicked in pain. Some dropped their weapons. Others tried to aim, but their arms shook. The second wave of arrows came right after. These ones had small bundles of pitch tied behind the heads. The bundles caught fire in the air from friction sparks. They hit the hover platforms and stuck. The pitch burned hot and fast. Black smoke rose thick. The platforms wobbled as the flames licked at their grav coils. The third group waited on the cliffs above. They rolled heavy boulders down the steep sides. The stones crashed loud and bounced hard. One boulder struck the lead platform square. It tipped sideways, then flipped. The soldiers on it fell into the dirt and rocks below. They tried to stand, but more arrows came. Poison tips found gaps in armor. The Krell screamed in high clicks that echoed off the walls. Another platform tried to rise higher, but weighted bolas flew up from the hunters below. The braided vines and heavy stones tangled in the grav skirts. The platform spun wild, then dropped hard into the trees. Branches snapped loud, metal bent and sparked. The last platform turned to flee back toward camp. It moved fast, but smoke blinded its sensors. Arrows followed it. One struck the pilot in the neck. The poison worked quick. The platform veered left and slammed into a thick oak. The crash sent pieces flying. The soldiers who survived crawled out. They looked around wild-eyed. Their glowing weapons flickered weak now. The clans did not charge out to finish them. Hunters slipped close from the shadows. They dragged the wounded into the underbrush. Quick knives ended the struggle. No sound came after that. The ravine grew quiet again, except for the crackle of small fires and the hiss of dying machines. Vexthar watched it all from the camp screens. His mandibles clicked fast and hard. Losses reported. Sub-Overseer, 3 platforms destroyed, 12 soldiers gone, no enemy bodies found. They strike and vanish. The second in command chittered nervous. They use traps, like animals. Vexthar turned his black eyes sharp. Worse than animals. Hunters. They know this land. We do not. He paced inside the tent. His legs clicked on the metal floor. Send the Reaver squad. Prepare the dropship. We burn a path to their main camp. No more games. We show strength now. Back in the forest, the clans pulled back fast. They moved through hidden trails that only they knew. Lyra led a small group to check the fallen platforms. They gathered what they could, twisted metal pieces from there. Grav coils, small glowing cores that still hummed soft. They carried these back to the village tinkerers. The tinkerers would study them later. Maybe find ways to use them against the strangers. Torin met Kalith at the edge of the trees. He carried a captured phase disruptor. The weapon felt heavy and strange in his hands. It still glowed faint blue. He spoke low. They bleed like anything else. Their machines break too. Kalith took the weapon and turned it over. She pressed a button, and a spark jumped. She handed it back. Keep it safe. We learn from it. We turn their strength against them. The clans did not rest long. Runners went out to the other groups. They carried news of the first strike. Black Fang prepared more poison pots. Stormbreaker mixed fresh pitch with dry moss. Red Hand sharpened fresh obsidian until edges gleamed like black glass. Iron River scouts moved closer to the strangers' camp. They watched from high trees and low bushes. They saw the Reavers arrive, tall warriors in thick, powered suits. Their armor shone silver and black. Each one carried bigger disruptors that crackled with white light. The dropship landed hard behind them. Dust flew up as its doors opened. More soldiers poured out. Vexthar stood at the front. He pointed toward the hills. "Burn everything in the way. Take no prisoners." The Reavers moved forward in a tight line. The dropship hovered above them. Plasma turrets glowed hot on its sides. They advanced toward the main stronghold path. Flames shot from the turrets. Trees caught fire fast. Smoke rose thick and black. The clans watched from cover. They did not run in fear. They waited. They let the strangers come deeper into the land they knew. Near the stronghold, hidden pits waited. Stakes lined the bottoms, sharp and coated with neurotoxin. The pits had thin covers of branches and leaves. The Reavers stepped heavy. Their suits made loud thuds on the ground. The first one stepped on a cover. The branch snapped. The Reaver fell through. Stakes below. The toxin worked fast. His suit sparked as systems failed. Other Reavers stopped. They aimed down but saw nothing. More pits waited ahead. Smoke bombs rolled from the sides. Sulfur and green wood burned thick. The smoke choked sensors and eyes. The clans used the smoke to move close. Slingers stood on ridges. They hurled fist-sized lead balls made from melted alien scrap. The balls cracked against visor plates. One Reaver dropped to his knees. His faceplate shattered. Spearmen waited in the brush. They carried long, ash-hafted lances. They thrust at the hoverskirts of smaller machines. The lances jammed the moving parts. Exposed joints sparked and seized. The clans did not stand in open lines. They faded back after each strike. They appeared from one side, then vanished. They targeted the leaders first. Officers fell with poisoned arrows in their necks. The Reavers tried to form a circle, but the smoke confused them. They shot wild into the trees. Plasma burned holes in empty ground. Vexthar watched from the dropship. His mandibles trembled. Losses mounting. Sub-overseer. They do not fight fair. They hide. They run. They use the land against us. He screamed into his comm. Make them stand and fight. Burn their villages. Force them out. The dropship fired again. Flames roared across a wide stretch. The clans pulled back further. They let the fire burn. They knew the rain would come soon. The strangers pushed on, but every step cost more. Every death made the Krells slower. They began to feel something new. Fear crept into their cliques. Their suits felt heavier. Their weapons seemed less sure. Kalith watched from a hidden ledge. She saw the line waver. She saw the smoke rise. She saw her people strike and fade. She whispered to Torin, "They bleed. They break. They fear now. We keep them moving. We tire them. We wait for night. Night will be ours." The clans pulled back again. They left the dead where they fell. They left the bodies in twisted poses to scare the others. They took no trophies yet. Only time mattered now. The strangers advanced slow through smoke and flame. The clans waited patient in the shadows. The hunt grew longer. The strangers grew weaker. The day stretched on hot and thick with the smell of burning wood and alien blood. Night fell, thick and black over the burned hills. Smoke still rose from the trees in thin gray lines. The strangers pushed forward slow. Their dropship hovered low. Its plasma turrets glowed red-hot. The Reaver squad marched in front. Their heavy suits thudded on the ground. Each step crushed grass and small stones. Vexthar rode inside the dropship. He watched screens that showed heat shapes moving in the dark. He clicked, angry. "The primitives run like rats. We burn their holes until they have nowhere left." The pilot answered low, "Yes, Sub-Overseer. Full advance." The dropship moved deeper into the valley. Flames licked out again. They set whole ridges on fire. The light turned the sky orange and angry. Kalith crouched in a shallow cave high on the cliffside. Her hunters sat close around her. They breathed quiet and watched the fire line below. Torin pointed to a narrow pass ahead. They come through there soon. The ground is soft from rain. The pits we dug will hold. Covers, made from woven branches and dirt. Some pits held sharp stakes. Others held bundles of dry brush soaked in pitch, ready to light. The clans knew this pass well. It led straight to the main stronghold, where longhouses stood close together. The strangers wanted to reach it fast. They thought fire would drive the clans out into open ground. They thought wrong. The Reavers reached the pass first. Their suits lit up the dark like walking torches. One stepped forward heavy. The ground gave way soft. The cover snapped. The Reaver dropped fast. He landed on stakes below. The toxin on the points burned through seals. His suit sparked loud. He thrashed once, then went still. The others stopped. They aimed disruptors down, but saw only shadows. More stepped careful now. One triggered a smoke bomb. Sulfur clouds rolled thick. The green wood smoke choked their air filters. Sensors blinked wild. The clans used the moment. Slingers on the high ledges swung their arms. Lead balls flew hard. Chest plates. Cracks spread across visors. One Reaver fell back clutching his face. Another dropped to one knee. Blood mixed with oil leaked from broken seals. Spearmen moved in from the sides. They carried long lances with ash hafts, tipped in obsidian and poison. They thrust quick at the legs of the suits. The lances found joints where armor bent. The points jammed deep. Mechanisms hissed and seized. The Reavers swung their big weapons. Plasma bolts burned the air, but hit only trees and rocks. The clans stayed low. They rolled away after each strike. They used the smoke and the dark to hide. Faces painted black and green blended with night. The strangers shot blind. Their shots lit up empty ground. Vexthar screamed from the dropship. Burn them out now. The turrets swiveled fast. Plasma rained down. The ground exploded in lines of white fire. Houses in the distance caught. Flames roared high. The clans had moved most people out earlier. Only empty shells remained to burn. The fire served as a signal. More clans waited in the trees. They saw the orange glow and knew the time drew close. Drums started low, far away. The sound rolled across the valley like distant thunder. It grew louder. It mixed with voices chanting in old tongues. The chant stayed soft but steady. They carried on the wind. The Reavers pushed through the pass. They lost 5 more to pits and arrows. Their line grew thin. Officers barked orders in clicks. The soldiers answered slow. Fear showed in their movements. They checked corners twice. They hesitated before steps. The dropship hovered above. It fired less now. Fuel ran lower. The pilot spoke tense. "Sub-Overseer, we burned too much too fast. Reserves drop." Vexthar clicked sharp. "Keep firing. Show no weakness." The clans heard the change in rhythm. They felt the strangers tire. In the thick brush near the stronghold, Lyra led a small team. They carried jars of thick oil made from rendered fat and pine resin. They crept close to the dropship landing zone. Lowered to reload soldiers. Lyra gave the signal. Fire arrows flew up in arcs. The bundle struck the hull and stuck. Flames spread slow at first, then fast. The fuel cells under the wings caught. The dropship lurched sideways. Alarms wailed loud. Red lights flashed across its skin. The pilot tried to lift. It rose crooked, then tilted hard. One wing scraped trees. Sparks flew. The ship crashed into soft ground. Metal twisted loud. Dirt flew up in clouds. The remaining Reavers turned to help. Their line broke open. The clans struck hard now. Hunters poured from every side. They used short spears and clubs. They swarmed the fallen suits. They pried at joints with strong knives. They pulled pilots out, one by one. The Krell fought back desperate. Their disruptors flashed in close quarters. Some clans fell, others pressed on. They targeted weak spots. They used numbers, they used speed, they used rage built from old stories of burned homes and taken kin. A reaver swung his arm wide. It caught Torin across the chest. He flew back hard. He landed rolling. Kalith saw it. She charged forward. Her spear thrust true. It found the gap under the arm. The reaver dropped. She stood over him, breathing hard. She pulled the spear free and moved on. Vexthar climbed out of the wrecked dropship. His legs shook. He held a heavy disruptor pistol. He aimed at shadows. He fired wild. Bolts lit the night but hit nothing. He clicked loud. "Vermin, cowards, face us!" The clans answered with silence. They circled closer. They threw stones and lead. They shot arrows tipped fresh with poison. Vexthar staggered back. One arrow struck his leg. The poison burned fast. He dropped to one knee. His pistol fell from shaking claws. He looked around. His soldiers lay scattered. Some still, some quiet. The dropship smoked behind him. Flames licked higher. The blue glow of his camp faded as machines failed. Kalith walked forward slow. Her hunters followed close. They formed a half circle around Vexthar. She stopped a spear length away. She looked down at him. Her face calm. Her voice steady. "You came to take our world. You came to harvest us. We harvest you instead." Vexthar tried to speak. His mouth parts clicked weak. No words came out. His black eyes dulled. The poison reached his heart. He fell forward, face down in the dirt. The clans stood quiet for a moment. Then they moved. They gathered weapons. They gathered armor pieces. They gathered small glowing cores. They left the bodies where they lay. They arranged some in strange poses. Arms spread, legs bent, heads turned wrong. They wanted the sight to stay in minds. They wanted fear to grow. Runners went out fast. They carried word to the other clans. The strangers break. The big ship falls. The leaders die. The drums changed rhythm. They beat faster. They beat harder. The sound rolled across hills and valleys. More hunters moved in. They came from hidden camps. They came from deep forest. They came ready with fresh weapons. The night filled with soft steps and low voices. The clans did not shout. They did not cheer. They worked. They salvaged. They prepared. They knew more strangers might come. They knew the stars watch now. They knew the fight stretched beyond this valley. Kalith stood on a rise overlooking the wreck. She watched flames dance on twisted metal. She felt the weight of the spear in her hand. She turned to Torin, who limped up beside her. He spoke low. "We hurt them bad. They fear us now." Kalith nodded. "We keep hurting. We keep them afraid. We rest little. We sharpen more. We wait for dawn. Dawn will bring new tests." The clans moved back into cover. They carried their dead gentle. They carried their wounded faster. They vanished into trees and caves. The valley grew quiet again. Smoke drifted slow. The stars looked down cold and bright. The clans rested with one eye open. They prepared without stop. The hunt turned sharper. The strangers learned pain. The third night wrapped the valley in deep black, only broken by scattered fires. The strangers' camp shrank to a small circle of blue glow. The silver ship lay broken on its side. Smoke curled from its torn hull. The dropship wreck burned low, sending orange sparks into the sky. Reaver bodies lay where they fell, some twisted in strange shapes, others still in their heavy suits. The Krell soldiers who lived huddled close together. Their clicks sounded soft and quick. Fear lived in every sound they made. Vexthar sat alone on a flat stone. His legs swelled dark from poison. His mandibles hung loose. He stared at the dark hills. His black eyes searched for movement. He found none. Drums started far away at first. The beat rolled slow and low like heartbeats under the ground. The sound grew closer. It came from every direction, north, east, south, west. The rhythm joined together. It filled the air, thick and heavy. Voices rose with the drums, low chants in many clan tongues, and lost kin, and coming victory. The clans moved through the night paths. They came quiet. Thousands of feet stepped soft on pine needles and dry leaves. They carried spears, bows, clubs, knives, slings, fire bundles hung from belts. Poison jars stayed sealed tight. Captured glowing weapons rested in strong hands, rewired by tinkerers to spark and burn in enemy grasp. Caliph walked at the front of Iron River. She carried her long spear. The head gleamed sharp, forged from a salvaged power cell casing, hammered thin and edged keen. Her face bore fresh ochre stripes mixed with dried blood. Her tunic hung torn but clean. Torin limped beside her, his chest wrapped tight with hide strips. He gripped a heavy club studded with flint and alien metal shards. Lyra moved ahead, silent as shadow. She scouted paths and marked safe ways. Mara from Red Hand walked with her staff high. Red feathers caught faint starlight. Rook from Black Fang carried poison pots strapped across his back. Vorn from Stormbreaker held bundles of fire arrows ready to light. The clans formed a wide ring around the strangers' camp. They stopped just outside the blue light line. They waited, patient. Vexthar stood slow. His leg dragged. He lifted a small comm box. His voice cracked when he spoke. "Surrender now or die. We still have power. We can call more ships." The machine voice repeated the words, loud across the valley. The clans heard. They did not answer. Drums beat louder. Voices rose higher. The sound pressed in like a living thing. Vexthar clicked frantic. "Prepare defenses. All weapons hot." The few soldiers left raised disruptors. Their hands shook. The turrets on broken machines tried to turn, but sparked and died. Blue lights flickered weak. The camp felt small now. The strangers felt alone. A single figure stepped into the firelight. Kalith walked forward alone. Her spear rested easy in her hand. She stopped far enough to see Vexthar's face clear. She spoke calm and strong. "You came to harvest us. You thought us ants. Weak. We are not ants. We are wolves. We hunt in packs. We use the land. We use our minds. We use our hands. You bleed. You break. You die." The words carried on the wind. The drums stopped sudden. Silence fell thick. Vexthar tried to stand tall. His suit creaked. He lifted his pistol slow. The clans watched without moving. Kalith raised her spear high. The signal. Drums exploded again. The clans surged forward like a dark wave. They came from every side. Hunters leaped over logs. They slid down slopes. They burst from thick brush. Arrows flew first in thick clouds. Poison tips struck armor and skin. Fire arrows followed arcs high. They landed among tents and machines. Pitch bundles caught fast. Flames roared up bright. Screams rose in clicks and high cries. The Krell fired back. Disruptors cracked loud. Bolts burned paths through the dark. Some clans fell. Others closed the gaps fast. They swarmed the line. Torin led a group straight at the center. His club swung wide. It crushed a helmet with one blow. Roared low and pushed on Lyra. Darted between legs. She thrust short knives into knee joints. She vanished before hands could grab her. Mara swung her staff. It cracked against disruptor barrels. The weapons flew from grasp. Vorn lit his fire bundles. He hurled them at fuel stacks. Explosions bloomed orange and hot. Metal twisted loud. The clans used captured phase lances. They triggered overloads in enemy hands. The weapons burst in bright flashes. Fingers and claws flew. The Krell line broke apart. Soldiers ran in circles. Some dropped weapons. Some fell to knees, begging in clicks. No mercy came. Kalith moved through the chaos. Her spear found throats and gaps. She stepped over bodies. She aimed for officers. She found Vexstar. He backed against the wrecked ship. His pistol shook. He fired once. The bolt grazed her arm. She did not slow. She thrust forward. The spearhead punched through his chestplate. It sank deep. Vexstar gasped. His mouthparts opened wide. No sound came out. He slid down the hull. Black eyes dimmed. Kalith pulled the spear free. She turned to the last soldiers. They dropped weapons. They raised empty claws. The clans closed in. Clubs fell. Spears thrust. Knives flashed. The night filled with wet sounds and final clicks. Then quiet returned. Morning light crept gray over the hills. Smoke hung low. The strangers' camp burned to ash. Twisted metal lay scattered. Broken suits smoked. The clans walked among the dead. They gathered what remained. Power cells, alloys, data slates, small machines that still hummed. They carried these to hidden places. Tinkerers waited to study and rebuild. The clans lifted their own fallen gentle. They wrapped them in soft hides. They sang low songs over the bodies. The songs thanked the dead for their strength. The songs promised to remember. Kalith stood on a rise. She looked across the valley. The silver ship lay ruined. The field bore black scars from fire and fight. She turned to her people. They gathered close. Hunters, elders, women, children. She spoke clear. We won this fight. We paid heavy. We lost kin. We lost homes. We gained knowledge. We gained fear in their hearts. They will think twice now. They will send more one day. We will be ready. We sharpen. We build. We watch the sky. We teach the young. We keep the old ways and add the new. The clans raised weapons high. Spears, bows, clubs, knives, all lifted together. No loud shout came. Only the quiet lift against the pale sky. The clans returned to villages and camps. They worked without rest. Some rebuilt longhouses. Some mended fences. Some planted new crops. Some studied alien pieces. They learned how glowing cores worked. They learned how metal bent. They learned how weapons hummed. They mixed old stone and bone with new steel and wire. Children watched and listened. They practiced with small bows. They asked questions. They grew strong. The clans did not celebrate long. They knew the stars noticed them now. They knew bigger ships might come. They knew the hunt never truly ended. Kalith walked to the grandmother oak. She placed her spear against the trunk. She touched the rough bark. She whispered thanks to ancestors. She turned back to the valley. Smoke still drifted thin. The river ran clear again. Birds sang high. The land healed slow. The clans sharpened blades once more. Not for the battle just ended, but for the ones sure to come. They prepared patient. They prepared fierce. They prepared together. The Iron River clan and all allies stood tall. They faced the sky unafraid. They waited, ready.